Welcome to Talking Junk.
I'm your host, Jason Melendez.
Live now every week on Fridays.
Talking Junk.
A multitude of professionals in different aspects, different walks of life.
You have to come on and talk junk like a normal person.
Welcome to Friday nights. How's everybody doing
what's
out
up,
there?
Jay?
What's going on, Tyler? How you doing tonight? Junkers, what's popping?
I'm doing all right, man. Trying to enjoy this Cali weather, bro. You know, it's wonderful. I know which one of you in the Junker group. Hello, shout out to all. I don't know if you guys are in Cali or not, but you enjoying this weather? Hope you're not in the high desert. I hear it's hot up there, but it's nice here.
Well, our guest today is in Cali right now. Miss Victoria Wieck.
That's
How you doing tonight, Victoria?
Great. Thank you so much for inviting me and looking forward to it. And I've got no complaints about the weather or anything else. So that's good.
Well, it's our pleasure. We're honored to have you on the show.
Thank you. Thank you.
Well, why don't you tell us a little bit about yourself?
Just a little bit. So I immigrated with my family when I was a young teen from South Korea to East Los Angeles. And I don't know if you know, Talon, East Los Angeles was a pretty rough place when we first moved here, and it remains pretty rough. It's a financially and economically not a thriving area. So after we got here, we found out that all of our assets were frozen in both countries. So we ended up with $30 in our pocket. And so life was really rough for about 5 years after I got here. So from that beginning to starting, I eventually got hyper educated, learned to speak English. I got hyper educated because that was the fastest path. I was told it was the fastest path to security, emotional freedom, and all the good things in life would come when you get all those things. So I did it. I was a great student, did all that stuff, got some corporate jobs, and I found that I was working, crazy amount of hours with very little upward mobility. And I was suffocating emotionally, and I was giving up, money, but I was paying a price with my family life and all that. So I did, took a leap of faith and started my own little company. And I had no mentors or any money. Started my company with literally no money. And
was this your jewelry company?
Yeah, it's my jewelry company. And in my career, I've done $500 million in retail sales. And it's still growing. And when I look back at my journey, going through all these countries, traveling millions of miles, I've traveled to many, many countries in Europe, Middle East, Asia, North and South America, made some amazing friends, and learned about cultures, food, and, just all those things, differences in politics, religion, and all that. And I've had to kind of, embrace everybody, and, the more friends, the merrier, and negotiate some killer deals. And here I'm at. So that's my story, pretty much.
How'd you end up on the Home Shopping Network?
They contacted me after seeing my jewelry on the Neiman Marcus catalog, because I was in their catalog consistently every 2 weeks, and then their Christmas catalog. It was very, and they've seen my jewelry in all the other department stores. So I went into department stores first. So they're like, who's this jewelry brand? So they called me, and if you remember, since you're in Florida, Home Shopping Network back in
I just got to Florida 2 years ago.
Okay, so in 1998, it was a very sleepy little, like a home shopping as an industry. Retail was just in its embryonic state, kind of like how podcasting is right now, where it was in an embryonic state for about 10 years, and then it started like popping a little bit. So I wasn't quite sure that was the right fit for me, since I was already, achieving success in the department store, specialty, duty-free, airlines. I had a very diverse business. But in the end, my kids were, 5 and 3, young. And I thought, instead of traveling millions of miles away from home, if this thing worked, I could go from LA to Tampa once a month and pretty much make the same money. I just didn't know how to do it, but I thought that would be sort of like a dream come true. So I just made a commitment and just really worked hard to make that work. And so for that to actually happen, home HSN had to grow as a company in terms of their, brand positioning, prestige, volume. And then I had to be right there with them. So both of that had to happen. So I had to have faith that was going to happen eventually. And it did. So I had an amazing ride. And after like a 10-year contract, I retired from there to write my 2 novels. Well, first is a novel, second is a how-to book. And then I am now on ShopHQ, which is a slightly smaller network, but I still pretty much do the same thing, but not on that same demanding schedule, because I'm now trying to scale back a little bit of that part of my life. So, yeah.
So you started your jewelry business with little to no money.
Oh no, I had no money. We're talking no money. I didn't have money to make samples, Jason. I didn't have literally.
How did you manage to make your first samples?
Okay, so now here is, so we're getting into I wouldn't say not like it's just like a street smart way of starting business. Okay, so, and risk free, because, obviously I had nothing. So I didn't have any money, and what money I had, I wasn't going to risk it. I wasn't going to risk all of it on samples, because it was kind of like shooting in the dark. I don't have sophisticated research material. I had no idea if I made the samples, they would actually, in fact, sell. I had no, how would you know, right?
Yeah.
So I wasn't going to risk
almost like a leap of faith.
It is. I already took a leap of faith, leaving my job. I could have done it as a side hustle, but it just wasn't workable, because I was, driving an hour and a half each way, and it was just crazy. So when I did it, what I did was I designed pieces, and I made beautiful sketches, and I made a lookbook out of it. And I went to all the major department stores near me. And, I went to the ones that are about 40-mile radius, because I was able to drive. And I would go to the stores, and I would ask the jewelry assistant manager of a jewelry counter, if you had, these kinds of designs, would you, these are actually from my ShopHQ, but if you had these designs, would you be able to sell it? And she would say, we could sell this, but not that. We could sell a ton of that, and we could sell a ton of that. So, they'll give me feedback as to which ones that they could sell. And I did this with like 40 different stores. So by the time I was done with it, I was reasonably secure that the 8 pieces I was going to make had a very good chance of actually, selling at some point, because these people are like on the front lines. Not only that, Jason, you'll find that when you're honest, like when she says, oh my God, you have a company? And I would say, no, I don't have a company. I'm just kind of starting out my company, and I'm just doing some research, and I know you guys are like on the front lines, you have great customers. And so I would ask her for help. And lo and behold, these people actually would pre-sell my stuff, because they're, oh my God, I love this. You know what? I could call my best, customer so-and-so and so-and-so. So like, they actually did all the sales for me just by being vulnerable, being honest. I don't have any money, So I actually pre-sold a few pieces before I even made the first sample, and the first sample actually came in horrible. That had to go back a couple of times. But I guess the point I'm trying to make is, if you're sitting at home right now watching us on Friday night and thinking, okay, well, what is your story? I mean, is that really true? Well, it is true, and I'm here to tell you, like, that one thing led to another thing, and I'm sitting here talking to you $500 million later, because I care that you take this the whole thing is take the first step, right? I could sit here and give you all these wonderful things about motivating you, inspiring you, encouraging you. Yeah, other people do it all the time, but it's actions that end up in results. So after you've got all these, you've really been motivated, inspired, take the first action. Just go out and ask questions. That's what I did.
But it's also a different time. You were able to shop your product around straight to the department stores. Nowadays, we can't do things like that.
Yes, you can. Yes, you can. You know what? Nowadays, you can send an email. You don't have to drive. Nowadays, you can ask questions on social media. Everything. It's interesting, because I was on a very big podcast, and these guys are all into like sleek internet marketing. They don't even know what it was like in 1998 or 89. Mm-hmm. And I told him, I said, does it scare you that I built my business before we even had the internet, before we had cell phones? And I'm going to tell you, it was so much harder back then. It was so much harder. Today, everything you want to do is free. Your calendar, like if you go to Google, you can get Calendly for free. You could get all these, surveys for free. You got the internet. You got the whole world in your hands, right? So today it's easier. If I started today doing what I was doing, I probably would have been a billionaire by now. So, I would say that the times are better today than it ever was when let me tell you, I had to spend money buying fax machines and try to do business. It's very inefficient. You can't take a picture and send it to somebody. You have to draw them. This is the front view, this is the side view, and that's the whatever view. You have to describe how many grams it's going to weigh. Like you didn't have a photo type thing going on. The other thing too, Jason, is in my day, if you didn't have a thick jewelry catalog, like beautiful glossy catalog, you were out of business, because that's how they basically showed jewelry, right?
Yeah.
Let me tell you, they were somewhere between $25,000 to $30,000, and the more styles you had, the better. That was a perception that you're a bigger company. And so if you didn't have your 50,000 styles in these catalogs, they weigh a ton, you were out of business. And what I did was I went to like a camera store, used camera store, and I bought a Polaroid machine. And I took pictures of my jewelry, and I would send just four styles to department store. I would call to find out what their names were. I'd send it to them, and I would say something like, hey, I'm a jewelry designer, and, I specialize in, whatever, very short and succinct, but these things didn't even make it to the catalog. They're hot off the press. And these are the styles I curated for you. I checked out your stores, and these four styles are things that I know that you don't have, that you might be able to use. So, and the reason why I chose four is because you can put four, in those days, you could put four of those photographs in one first class stamp. So I sent like 50 of them every day.
Okay.
So
maximize more like that without having to pay for the shipping as much.
Yeah. The other thing is no shipping, and the catalog cost. There was no catalog cost because I couldn't pay for the catalog. I had no money. So
excuse me, I'm sorry because I came in late. But what type of jewelry did you make? Just so I have an idea.
Fine jewelry, like the stuff that I have now. But here's the other thing. Jewelry business is notorious for needing, fine jewelry business is notorious for needing a lot of capital, and I didn't have any money. But here's the thing. So the first thing a jeweler needs is like a floor to ceiling safe, because you have to keep your inventory kind of safe, and jeweler's insurance is what you need. Well, I didn't have a lot of customers back then, but what I had was worth everything to me, right? Because I had no money. So what I did was, well, how do I secure my inventory, because it is everything, and I didn't want to rob.
Then you have nothing,
right? Yeah. But I didn't want to have whatever inventory that I was, because there was a money gap. Like what the suppliers would send me, I'd have to sell it to whoever, and so there was like a time gap between my customers to the supplier. So I didn't want to take a risk. Besides, if you lose a sample, samples take a lot of money to do. So what happened was, I simply went to the bank next door, B of A, and they have those bank safes.
Yeah.
They're about that big, and it was $120 a year. So it cost me $10 a month.
Not bad.
So then I thought, well, it's going to be safer there than any safe I could afford, and it also eliminated the need for like a jeweler's insurance, because it was
bank is insured.
Yeah. Right. So, the point is, look, don't follow like the expert path that other people have, because if you're a smaller business, you can be more nimble, agile, and you can strike. You can be much more surgical about it. So, it got me started. And the other thing too is there was a lot of ways I saved the first year's capital, because I had no rent, remember, because I worked out of my second bedroom. I rented a 2-bedroom apartment instead of the one. And I had no insurance costs, no, employees. And so it was actually, pretty good business model. But I guess the point I'm trying to make too is, nowadays, if you're a young person or maybe you're, looking into retirement and you want to start a small business because you have all these
I'm a young person still looking for retirement right now.
Yeah, right.
well, whatever.
I need a way out the mundane life. I need to get away from the 9 to 5.
Your income.
Yeah, see, now that's what happened to me. I had a great income, but I was suffocating. I couldn't sit a 9 to 5 job, because creative people just kind of we suffocate doing that. And I also principally didn't like the idea that if you're a creative person and you're creating beautiful things or creative solutions, or you're creating content, and you're excited to come to work and you do something that your customers love it, then half the time what happens is some guy with the finance degree sits there, well, I'm not going to fund it, or there's no money for it, or whatever. And so your idea gets slashed, or they'll say, if you change X, Y, Z, I'll fund it. So I just kind of got tired of it. And, I started my own. But now if you're looking for a business idea, or you have an idea, you want to implement it, the experts on Forbes, Fox News, CNN, CNBC, whatever, all get on TV and tell you, if you don't have something really sleek, if you don't have a huge edge or whatever, then you're not going to get anything. Well, you really do. I think that it's not as black and white. I think that you can carve out a lane. Look, jewelry business is 2,000 years old, and there is no business more saturated than jewelry business. Mm-hmm. And I was still able to carve out a niche.
I mean, clearly from what you were doing, you were very, very smart with your moves and how you were doing things. Did that come to you naturally, or did you? You might have mentioned this before, and I apologize if you did answer it. But did you have a specific education? Did you have somebody that kind of mentored you into look, this is the bullshit. This is how you kind of really get your face in there, or how does it work?
So you missed the part where I immigrated here with my family of 7 with $30 in our pocket. So we didn't have any mentors. We have no friends. We didn't speak the English. And it was hard to make friends when you speak no English in those days. So I had to start.
And these days too.
That's true. Well, these days you still have, back then we didn't have that many Korean people in LA. So there was no Koreatown. So there were 4 Korean kids in my whole school, and there were several grades ahead of me. So it's really hard to make friends when, the other thing is I had to be, I worked 2 jobs since I was 15, and I had to take 3 buses to get to each job. So it's hard to make friends when you have no time and you speak no English. And that's one of the reasons why I got really great at drawing, because I started to draw out, I couldn't communicate with the first year. So I would draw things out, and then later on, when I had downtime, I would actually draw out my emotions, my feelings, and I would paint, a point. So my jewelry renderings are very emotionally connecting. Every piece has an emotional connection to things. But going back to your question, when you have nothing and you have no options, you have to come up with solutions that include no money.
Right.
And that's how I ended up. It's not like I was super smart. It's not like so now occasionally I play golf, and I was in Florida. Last time I was in Florida, my girlfriend and I decided we're going to go play golf. Well, it was at the last minute, and the hotel said, I can't get you golf clubs because you didn't order it fast enough. So we went to Walmart across the street. And they had this hideous looking clubs that were 7 clubs or something. It was not a complete set, but I just bought it. It was $99, including the bag and everything. So when I started playing the golf, it was horrible clubs. And it only had 1 wood. Okay. I didn't even know what it was. And it didn't have a sandwich and a pitching wedge. It just had 1 between the 2. And I played the best.
You were already at a disadvantage.
But I played the best round ever because it made the decision so simple. You know, you did like I would pull out whatever the wood it was. It was weird shaped. I couldn't tell if it was a rescue or a 5 but it was the only thing that you had. So you commit to it and you hit it, right? And after like a second or third hole, you realize how far you could actually hit the thing. At my home club, I have like 13 clubs or whatever that they give you. So I'm like, well, you know, should I hit the 5 or the 3 or the iron? But you never really commit to this thing. And so I thought to myself, when you don't have any options and your decisions are as simple as yes or no, I mean, it's you got to try it. You actually try to pretend that you have no money.
I actually definitely agree with that approach. I think that's kind of
I actually definitely have
an issue is that we actually have way too many options for just about everything, and because of that, we can't really make decisions. Everything has some type of value. Everything is offering you this. There's so many different choices. Just look at streaming services itself. There's a lot of overlap in some regards, but then there's just specific things that aren't there. So they're kind of making you have to choose, but at the same time, you don't want to choose. You just decide.
Well, not only that,
all, you know.
Not only that, even when you make a decision after 14 options, you're not quite sure if it was really the best decision or not, and so you're going to kind of try it and to see if it works. Because if there's one little thing wrong with it, I'm going to go to the next option. Whereas if all you had was one, you do the best you can and you work with it, and you really become an expert in that. You know, the other day I saw this podcast. I mean, it was a video, and they like do this whole thing in 4K. I mean, it looks better than like CNBC Studio. And I asked him, I said, how do you guys do that? And he said, you know, could you believe it? I bought all my equipment in 2008 and I've never touched it. It's been on the corner, never touched it. And, you know, I just became like a tech junkie because they didn't have people that had helped you with streaming service and all that stuff back then. So he said, like, I use old equipment. And it works because I've learned to add this little thing or that little thing. He was explaining to me how he's using the same cable between, the cloud lifter to this, because so that it's the same frequency. He looks like a total tech junkie, but he said, I've had to learn how to do this because there was nobody to teach me back then. Right. So the point is, I think, yes, if you have money and you can buy all the tools, like right now today, you could buy all the tools in the world to give you, I saw some guy was trying to sell me how emotions sell everything, and that, so he's trying to explain to me all the different human emotions and how they impact buying. Okay. And I thought, well, why would I need to buy a software to find out if somebody feels sad or happy?
When you can just ask them.
Right. Or you can ask them sometimes too.
Or have a conversation with them and find out. Yeah. Right? Like just get to know them. And that conversation does not have to be in person. You could just be observing their Facebook posts. It could be, you know what I mean? Like, why would I need
There's a lot of different social cues now that you can use to read people's emotions.
Right. But I guess the point is, when we have too many options, how many hours a day do you think entrepreneurs today are spending trying to figure out which software to buy?
Too many.
Little to none.
Because most of the people with that software are entrepreneurs themselves, so they're trying to go out and hustle, so they're inundating people above them with their own, and it makes it very difficult. Whether you're trying to whittle it down or not, like you mentioned before, you're going to kind of usually have that nag in the back of your head. I don't really know if this is the best option, but this is what I feel is the best option. But I feel like there's a lot of people that are even having difficulty just choosing. They kind of just wait for the time limit to run out and let it be chosen for them, and then they deal with what the consequences. And it's unfortunate. We want options, but we don't want to really choose.
It's too many. Options. Yeah, it's too many options. I think
we don't want to be overwhelmed.
You know what? Do you guys, when you go to like a restaurant, I hate restaurants that have like a whole book for a menu.
I like to know what you specialize in. What do you cook?
Right.
That's where that adage comes from. Don't get seafood at a steakhouse.
Well, don't get seafood where you can't see this. You can't
see
around too.
That's very important. That will make you think seafood is disgusting. And just PSA, go by the ocean and then get some fresh seafood. Right. Change your whole opinion.
Right. Exactly. My whole thing is, I'm in this old business, but jewelry is old, and the jewelry industry, has evolved and changed a gazillion times. But the bottom line is this: I never saw myself as being in the jewelry business to be sure, because I do fine jewelry. I see myself as somebody who is helping my customers memorializing their milestones. So you're getting married, think about you're getting married, you got anniversaries, birthdays, graduations, you're celebrating your promotions. This is why people buy jewelry, to make them feel good, they accomplished something, they arrived.
And you can almost find any type of occasion to buy a piece of jewelry.
You're right. And you do it with your family. This is how it's sort of like your history, right?
Now, do you make men's jewelry as well?
I do. So I guess if you see yourself doing that, you definitely up-level your game. You definitely think of yourself being a part of their family's tradition for the next 100 years. So your quality goes up. Your designs have a little personality to them. It's very personality reflective, but also it has a certain endurance of time kind of a design element that has to have that. So, and when you do that, you'll find that things that I designed 30 years ago still goes with things that I'm doing today. So again, that mentality of who you're serving, why you are there, what you actually do, what problems you're serving, or what are you actually providing, because it's really rare the product, it's the emotion. It's like, does your product help solve problems, create memories? Does it help you save money or time or prevent a future, or does it right a social wrong? Like if you're doing like that, live strong or whatever. So if you look at the bigger picture and you look at your business model, the way I have with my business, it's been very consistent the whole time. And the other thing I love about that is, can you imagine, like if I designed their wedding ring and they loved it, them going to somebody else for their anniversary ring? I don't think so. They'll come back to me first, unless I really screw up. Right? Then when they have a baby, they come to me, the first baby, they come to me for that present. And now the babies are ordering their wedding presents.
Create a rapport with your customers.
Yeah, exactly.
Because they like your style.
The loyalty, yeah, for sure.
Yeah. Now, is there any advice that you can give our junkers out there who are aspiring to be jewelry connoisseurs such as yourself?
I mean, believe in yourself. Absolutely. I think in any business and anything you do, you got to believe in yourself, because I think that we are now the one difference between when I started back then and now, you guys have a very huge disadvantage, which is when you look at social media, you look at any media, they make you feel like you're lesser than. They make you feel like there is some expert for everything in the world and you're not the expert, right? Well, I'll tell you what, I think that that's a very toxic environment to kind of be inspired to take action. So believe in yourself. I will also say that I am not a smart person. I mean, I'm above average. Okay. I'm not like a Einstein, or I didn't invent anything. I'm not a scientist. I took an old business and I found ways to simplify their life, like make like when I first got into the business, all the jewelry was like sold in size 7 for some reason in women's. So if you wanted anything other than a 7, you had to go get it specially made, or you had to wait 2 weeks to go get it. Bracelets were all size 7 inches, and 50% of American women cannot wear size 7. They were 8.5 when they're larger, and they were 6.5 when they're smaller. So I offered them in these sizes, and so I got market share for all of that. And remember, I didn't need to get 50% market share. I only needed 5% market share for me to make a living. So think about, the ways you could still carve out your lane, like a problem solver, or, if you're going to make memories, you might as well make them really good. So I would say if you're a young person starting out today, I believe more than ever before, now after COVID, the opportunities are great. Bigger companies cannot. We talk about every marketing expert tells you niche down, niche down, niche down, and bigger company can't niche down. Do like huge companies cannot niche down, because it's like trying to make a hard right turn with the Titanic. They don't know how to do it. They can.
You're gonna hit an iceberg.
Right.
Or you're gonna miss your
Small
target.
business people like us can, because we're nimble and we're agile, right? So I would say, believe in yourself. Look for the littlest niche you can hang on to and be everything to that little market, because you are going to find it. It's like if you're trying to hit a nail with a hammer, I'm not good at it, but you might miss it the first time, you might miss the second time, but
You might hit your thumb the third.
Eventually, you are going to put that nail in there. You're going to hit it on the nail eventually. It's how many times are you going to need to do that? In my case, it was a lot. I had to solve a lot of problems because I didn't have easy solutions like I'm going to buy this or I'm going to hire that person. I didn't have that. So I became expert in a lot of things involuntarily because I had to. I didn't have an option to hire it. So I would say the other thing is I didn't speak English. There's a lot of things that I couldn't offer to my customers. And what I found is that American people, I am American, I'm an American citizen. I've been here since I was a teen. We love underdogs, right? We don't like, we don't
the
like
underdog story is the greatest story in history.
If you come off as, I know everything, I'm perfect, you know what? Nobody cares. They know you're fake because nobody's perfect and nobody, So if you are vulnerable and don't create fake vulnerability, but if you're vulnerable and you missed this earlier, but when I went to department stores and with the lookbook and I told them, I really don't have a whole lot of money and I'm trying to start my company. Could you help me? Can you tell me which ones you think you're going to sell? Mm-hmm. They took it upon themselves to go get orders for me because, they really wanted me to succeed. They saw a little bit of me in them, I guess. So the point I'm trying to make is, if you're vulnerable, you're imperfect, and you think you are not good enough about one little thing, but you're trying your hardest, you're trying your darn hardest, that's who Americans root for. That's who we cheer for. And they'll be cheering for you all the time. Just be humble, be grateful. Even
That's
though
very important, though. I think a lot of people forget to be humble.
Oh God!
They go straight from humbled, because there's a difference from you being humble and being humbled.
Yeah.
So you're very humbled when you start, and then you get this sort of cockiness about you, and you forget to be humble about it.
Well, there's no need for that, Jason. I think that I wake up every day with a lot of gratitude not for what I've accomplished in terms of money, but the journey, the real difficult part of my journey. I think they were really the golden nuggets in my life. And, just to give you an example, like when I travel to trade shows or even to see my customers, I'm just going to tell you honestly, right now, I have the financial means to be extravagant. But I don't, because I don't see a point in it. And when I go to when I used to go to HSN Studios, for example, most people know how many dollars we do because they have all the sales report and all that. But I hate the idea of me walking into any studio or anybody's office, even if it's like a Macy's buyer's office. I hate the idea of walking with a $20,000, $30,000 watch or whatever, because these people are making that in a year. And they're working their rear ends off. They're leaving their kids at home.
It's almost like flaunting it in their face.
That's a respect that's not really put out there like that. I even though I've not met you, I appreciate that you do that, because
it's very admirable.
Realize how being flashy can really affect the people around them. Like, that. It's not impressive. It makes you look bad.
More millionaires should take your lead.
The other thing is when I go to when I try to go to when a lot of my products are sourced overseas, like in Hong Kong, India, places like that. And when I go there, I fly and I go to all these meetings with just a JanSport backpack. I don't even have a leather handbag. I have them, but I wouldn't carry them because these people are making $50 a month. So if I'm walking with like a Coach bag, it's essentially like a year's paycheck that they got, And so
probably way more than that if they're only making $50 a week.
Yeah, whatever. It's like, what right do I have to I mean, it's just really sad. So I would, I don't actually want anything. You can see like I'm just very basic. So
you have a lovely home though, by the way.
Yeah, I do like your setup there with the plants and everything. It's very pretty looking.
Yeah, it's actually all natural out here. San Diego, we get a little nice weather, nice topography. But going back to being humble, like I just think that if you're, here's one really important thing that I really want to address to everybody listening, and that is, if you believe in yourself and you make a commitment to success, like here's my version of success, here's my dream idea, and you commit to it, and you really do, you're willing to do anything and everything, within reason to achieve this, working, figuring out, you're going to eventually get there. But what I don't want to see is, having gone through the process, you need to start to appreciate life more. And you need to be a better character person at the end of that journey than before. In the beginning, it's easy to be bitchy. It's easy to say, why me? How come I don't have any money? How come they get all the customers, all this stuff? Well, you may have a right to say that because when you have no money, I know how it feels to feel like life's unfair. But when you get to the end, what have you got to bitch about? Because you got millions. Like, what are you bitching about? What are you?
Yeah, there's no reason to.
There's no reason to.
Relax.
So I feel like when you got to that point, you have to have empathy for people that are just beginning. You have to have, some part of you inside has to like really have that desire to help those people, because you're like, you know what? All I have to do is like share an hour of a podcast or give them 2 sentences on how to avoid that landmine. Why is that so, so odd these days?
It goes back to being humble. Not a lot of people know how to do that.
Well, I do it. A lot of, the other thing I just absolutely hate too is like a lot of these how-to books. And that's why I started to write my how-to book, by the way, because what I found is a lot of these how-to books and how-to online classes will tell you why you need a new, marketing strategy or why you need a new podcast, whatever. And what you need.
Look no further than Talking Junk.
Well, a lot of times they really don't share exactly how to do it. And so I thought, you know what, I'm just going to give them like literally foolproof framework that if somebody like me who really had the desire to do it, they can do it. And hopefully they'll make $5 billion off of that. Because, I did start at a very, really, I had no money and didn't speak any English. And I had 5.
You lived the proverbial American dream.
I have. And I'm very grateful for it. I that's why I told you at the beginning of the show, I said, I'm not going to complain about anything. Remember that?
Yes.
Okay.
Because I never
been the loveliest guest we've had on here.
That's not true. You had to have some people. Okay.
Oh, we've had plenty, and they have been lovely. However, you
look at you,
the loveliest,
Jay.
Well, thank you so much.
Job as a podcaster lead. I agree, but no, you've been very, very. I have to say, I admire from everything I've heard here. If there's anything that you can directly take from Victoria here, is look at what having a real work ethic has you, and not taking no for an answer in the sense of you can't do it this way. All right, well, let me figure out how to do it then. I don't have $100. Well, how can I do it with $10? Let me figure that out. And that's ethic and a sense of mind that if people just apply to how they're already doing things, they might actually see that they can have more success. They're just not going about it correctly. They take L's or losses a little too to the heart and not as much as a lesson. You got to take those as a lesson so that way you can be like, okay, that's not my way, or I got to do better if that's the way that I'm going to go. Instead of it being like, well, maybe I can't do this, maybe I'm not good enough. that's not necessarily the answer. Until you exhaust everything, until you know that's like, you know, that's what you got to do. You got to have that passion. And you say that you're not smart, but you got that work smart clearly, because you can't just get to where you're at without having some type of smart.
She's a jewelry genius.
You are an expert in a number of different ways that have gotten you to the place that you are now. But even though you are there, because you really worked for it and worked for it from nothing, you're still able to maintain your confidence. And that's something that I wish was more reflected, but I can understand that people can get lost in it. They forget where they come from. It sounds like you have not forgotten. And that's great.
Yeah, I never forget. I mean, you know, I just give you one story. Where I live is really affluent area, and our gardener, Domingo, you know, he's I think he's from El Salvador. His wife is from Mexico. You know, he works hard. He's like here at 6 o'clock in the morning, works really hard. And, you know, I just want everybody to understand, don't judge a book by its cover, because one day I asked him, you know, how's your daughter, you know, and his daughter went to Harvard on a full scholarship, full academic scholarship.
All right. Wow.
So let me tell you.
Congratulations, Domingo's daughter.
Yeah, and to Domingo, because, you know, he put in that sacrifice. But the thing I want to also, second thing I want, when you say about advice about giving it to the young people now, is this. Failure, I cannot guarantee you success. I guarantee you success because the way I actually see success is the journey itself. But what I will guarantee you is you're going to run into a lot of failures. When you do, you know, people say it's not how you fall, but it's how you get up and all that. It's great. But plan on your failures, because failures are going to happen for sure. But not one of those failures are fatal. And it is a key component of your success. You know, think about it. A kid that what doesn't, you know, if you take the little kid to ski, for example. Oh, it's cold. I don't want to go out. You know, what if I fall? Oh my God, Mom, you know, I don't know. Well, they do all this, but then the first time they fall, they're like, oh my God, I haven't died. I'm not bleeding.
It didn't even hurt that bad.
You know, and I'm not hurting, right? And that was actually fun. I mean, snow, it feel great. I'm just gonna play in the snow, and then they go on a bigger hill, and then they keep going on the big one until they break their knee or something. You know, that's another problem. But the point is,
range.
That is how you learn, by making small mistakes and learning from that. And so that's why I said, like, if you stick with it, you will.
The quickest battle lost is the battle never fought. Exactly.
So, I mean, look, I can sit here and talk for hours, but I'm not going to, because I don't want to bore you.
Oh man, you're not boring us. We love to hear you.
Gems like that. We're getting
while we do have the time, China, can you throw up Victoria's website for us? Now, on your website, this is where we can find all your jewelry.
No. It's interesting because it's the so you're going to see my books. I've written a science fiction and a how-to. The how-to is being revised now for like a publication. And I've got some publishers that wanted to pay me some advance money. I've got the podcast Million-Dollar Hobbies, which is kind of like my journey, and you're going to learn a lot from that. And so if you guys can come on that, that'd be great. And then
we would love to.
Yeah, so that is the jewelry. Now, this is a 100% engagement site because my jewelry is sold all over the world. So I don't feel like I need to sell that on my website because I've got my TV network is selling it. The TV network.
You have other people selling your stuff, so you don't need to.
So this is 100 because I don't want to push people to keep buying.
You need to tell us how to do that so we can get people to sell our shit.
Exactly. Yeah, we got to apply this logic.
And then on the education part, I'm going to be I'm doing a free webinar pretty soon about basically how people get visible, how small businesses can be relevant, simplify and become relevant, elevate their message, amplify their message, and then that's how you build it.
Will you be charging for the webinar?
It's completely free.
Completely
free.
You know, there's knowledge there. She doesn't need your money. She wants to help you out.
Yeah. So like if I'm writing, let me tell you something, Jason. When I write, like the book, for example, like if that's a great example. If I charge $10 a book, okay, and I'll get like $1 or $2 from my publisher, when I go on TV, I make so much more money that it would be stupid to write the book because, but I'm writing the book because my legacy now is I want to create 1 million millionaires. And I don't think it's really out of reach, really. So and I'm not going to do it this year or next year. I want to do it for the next chapter of my life. So, and I don't ever feel great about charging for little downloads. So you'll be able to come in and just really get some really great tips that are completely free. You just have to work a little bit, but it is all free. So, but here's another thing. If you some people I know, they're kind of awestruck by people who have all these degrees and certifications or whatever. I have to tell you, when people talk about, new customer acquisition, I've got a new customer. Think about it this way. If you open a restaurant and you had an opening day and you have 300 people dining that night and you go, oh my God, I got 300 new customers. Well, no, you don't have 300 new customers because if they come back next month, that's your new customer. Mm-hmm. But if 150 of them never came back, did you really have 300 customers? No, you didn't. No. So,
you had 150 customers and 150 passerbys.
150 people that might potentially tell people why they're not ever coming back. Mm-hmm. That's worse, right? Some people will say, it was just kind of okay. I thought I expected more, but some people might say, geez, the food came cold and, the waitress was just,
there's a fly in
my whoever, there's a fly in my, that's like, you're going to lose 10 more customers. Right. So you better be careful when you start to count your, money before. So never count
your chickens before they hatch.
Right. In your MBA school, they teach you, customer acquisition dollars, all this stuff. Well, they're not actually customers. In this country, most places give you 30 days money back guarantee, and most credit cards will actually give you, sort of a guarantee. So if you sell bath soaps or whatever and they return it, you have to understand. So when you have this mindset, right? I have to serve my customers to the point where they're going to be my ambassador. They're going to be fanatical about their experience here. What happens is you're going to elevate your product, your service, their experience, and then you're going to make sure they come back. So you touch them after the experience. So you get that frequency closer. You get that gap closer. So it's all those little things. When I'm telling you this is completely common sense, right? This isn't like Einstein theory here. Mm. You know what I mean? It's common. You got to use your common sense.
It's not the theory of relativity.
Common sense is very uncommon these days.
Not.
You do know that. So anyway.
Now, before we let you go about your day, because I'm more than sure that you're a very busy woman. I do have to ask, what is the sci-fi book about?
Oh, so the sci-fi book is actually, it's Shattered Sky, and it's a near future science fiction. And it happens after a nuclear war has gone through the world. So, nuclear bombs have hit different parts of the world. So some people live like normal lives and other people actually about 1/3 of the country has been wiped out. And it really has to do with, it's a murder mystery, but the girl.
A sci-fi murder mystery. You got me hooked already.
Yeah. It's the girl is trying to solve a murder and the kidnapping of her sister. And through her peripheral vision, you are seeing the sex trafficking, the all of the seedy stuff that humans do when they're starving and they need healthcare and all that. So it does address a lot of the social ills that we're going through right now via non-political sort of science fiction. So I kind of didn't want to make it political, so that's why I chose a futuristic society with made up names so that, people aren't going to be turned off right away either way. So it's pretty well reviewed by, major publishing houses. I'm actually writing a sequel to this one because they wanted me to write like a 3-book series. So
we're definitely gonna have to get our hands on a copy.
Yeah, you should do it. And yeah, I'm having a lot of fun, and I love coming on shows like yours because, when I get interviewed by major media, you get 10 seconds, 30 seconds, right? You don't, 2 minutes. You don't get to actually really explain to somebody, when they say believe in yourself, like I need them to kind of really get it, and I just do think that, listen, if a penniless immigrant can come here and create, a dream life for herself, then anybody can do it. And I assure you, you can do it. You are more than enough. And you just got to believe in yourself and keep educating yourself, investing in yourself. And there are free classes everywhere. There are people like me out there, a lot of us. I mean, they're not as common as people not like me, but there are a lot of us who are out there trying to help and educate. And, tomorrow I'm going to be speaking at a global women's empowerment summit that I'm speaking for free at that event also. I don't take like speaking fees and things like that because it's kind of like inconsequential to me at the moment. So yeah, they're just going to get, all of this is out here available. So get started. I would say, because I spent like an hour here, what I like everybody to do right now is think about the one little thing you could do today. When you get off this show, do the one thing. And it could just be, look, I see myself 3 years from now doing, ABC, and I'm going to make a commitment today. So it's like, if you want to lose 10 pounds, you say, okay, you know what? I put on some COVID weight, and then, that was on top of the Christmas weight, whatever. So I want to lose it. I'm going to make a real commitment to, losing weight. And so,
and here I thought me putting the camera like this would take the pounds off the camera.
It already did. You already did it. That's the fast way to do it, right? But let's say you were going to do that and say, I'm going to commit. I'm motivated. I'm encouraged. And, I watched some video and it's great. Okay. Well, you know what? That's probably not going to work for you. And I'll tell you why. If you said instead, you know what? I tried losing 10 pounds every year, and every year I put on 1 pound. So here's what I'm going to do this time. I am going to lose 10 pounds in the next 10 weeks. So now you put your timeline there, right? Mm-hmm. So now 10 pounds in the next 10 weeks means you got 1 pound a week to lose, basically. So if you say to yourself, and in order for me to do that, I'm willing to today cut out 300 calories a day total, because that's going to get you the 10 pounds, the 1 pound off a week. So you say to yourself, so if I'm willing to cut out 300 calories every day, today could be that I cut out my toast and butter this morning. Tomorrow could be I'm going to cut out my glass of wine with crackers. Whatever it is, you do this.
Little steps every day.
Yeah. Then you say, you know what? I'm going to walk my dog. I skipped walking my dog. I'm going to walk my dog twice instead of, every once a day. Now, if you do that, you may lose 12 pounds. You may lose 8, but it's better than not starting. Mm-hmm. Right? It's better than not starting.
Definitely is. So
start something. Write down your mission. Start something. Because when I came to America, I didn't speak English, and I was 13 years old. And I thought to myself, what can I do? I don't speak English. I can't go get a job. I don't have a car. What can I do? I thought, well, you know what? I can learn to speak English. Well, there's no ESL classes. There was no online classes. I didn't have, books to teach me, Korean to English or whatever. Mm. So I told my dad, I need to learn to speak English. And my dad didn't speak English. So he got a dictionary, English to English dictionary, like a thesaurus. And then he just randomly circled 200 words a day. And I would take that circled word and I would look at the definition. Then there'll be like 6 other words I didn't know. So I ended up with like 350 words. But I did this. And what happened was I found out that American kids live perfectly fine with 2,500 words total. So I was there in the thick of things, right? So that one action, having my dad to circle dictionary words. Now, we just went through how I wrote 2 books.
Yep.
From that point to that,
It's accomplished.
You guys, take one little action, and you would make me the happiest woman in the world.
From not being able to speak, read, or write English to writing 2 books. That has been the lovely Victoria Wieck. Thank you again for joining us today, because it's been an amazing talk, and we do hope to have you on our other show. Maybe we could have a whole bunch of women come on and have a woman empowerment episode.
I think that would be a good balance.
Thank you so much. I've got a lot of women friends who are, I mean, just like some of them make me look like I'm a little child. I mean, they're very successful people.
Well, that sounds good to me. If you ever want to set something up, you can always use our outlet, and we would love to come on your show. Just let us know when, and we'll be there. But Junkers, that has been your Talking Junk episode for this Friday night. We want to thank you for joining us, and take Miss Wieck's advice. You think of what you want to be in life, where you want to go, follow your dreams, start little by little every day, and then you'll end up to be where you want to be one day. And just remember, your journey starts right here,
right now
with Talking Junk.
That's right.
Welcome to Talking Junk.
I'm your host, Jason Melendez.